Okay, this is just a quick response to WannabeKiwiBoy's video on good laws. It's made me think a lot. I really should have watched the video before I did this response again so I could address particular issues, but what's really been going through my mind all day is that what sort of things would I talk about as far as these are good things, good laws that I have in my own area, which is San Francisco, California, that I could pass on to other people. And I've thought a lot about it, and I really, all I can think of is the bad things. I mean, it's a horrendous amount of things that, excuse me, of things that are wrong with the laws that we have in California, with the way we do stuff. I'm a progressive liberal, definitely not conservative in any way, shape, or form, at least for society, for social issues. And I'm only conservative on financial perspectives, in that I would like, when we spend money, to spend it in useful, productive ways and not waste it. But I believe that we should spend our money on social progressive issues. So even in that sense, I'm not conservative. And California does so many stupid things. I mean, you know, I could go on, and this is not supposed to be a video about how bad it is, but it's supposed to be a video about the good laws. And after thinking all day about it, the only thing that I can come up with that I think that we do well, that is something that I think should be instituted in other places, is what we have in San Francisco for voting. It's called IRV, which is instant runoff voting. And that's where when you go to vote for specifically the Board of Supervisors, when you're voting for the Board of Supervisors, the mayor's office also, I believe, although it's it might not have been the mayor the last time we had the election, because this is something relatively new. But what happens is you vote for your three top choices, and if your first choice doesn't make it in a certain tier level, if he's in the bottom level, then your second choice goes up, and if he doesn't make it, your third choice goes up. So what happens is that you can vote for the one you really want, and if that person doesn't get it, you still have the option for other people that you would like to fill the office. So it doesn't put you in a position like was pointed out during the 2000 presidential election, where people who voted for Nader really had a strong influence and impact and may in fact have cost score to lose the election. And yet those people had the right to vote for Nader. That was their choice. That's who they wanted. And when voting, you should be able to vote for who you want. You shouldn't have to choose the lesser of two evils. That's really not conducive to voter participation. If people know that their choice is not going to have any sort of chance of winning, and may in fact cause the worst person to get elected, as the case of George Bush, then they tend not to even want to vote. What's the point? Their vote doesn't count in any way, shape, or form, and can in fact have a negative impact. So that's a really good thing, is having instant runoff voting. It allows you to vote for three people, and the last person on that list, number 3, can be the one that could be the choice of the lesser of the evils. But the first choice is the one that you really want to hold a position. And I would like to see this put on a national level as far as our presidential elections. That way it would give politicians a better idea of what their real support is. Politicians now don't have any real strong, hard grasp on how strong their support is or how strong the opposition to them is, because it's either basically a yes or no vote. I mean, it's up or down. It's the lesser of two evils. And if politicians could see that they weren't the first choice, even though they may win, it helps them, gives them a better idea of where the electorate stands, and hopefully would have some of these politicians not go out there after they won the election and say it was won by a landslide, when in fact most of the people don't really agree with their views, which happens a lot when you have just two people and it's either this guy or that guy. So that's one of the good things that I would say that should be passed along, should be in other countries, other cities, other states. Other than that, I'm having a real hard time thinking about things. San Francisco itself has a very strong anti-freeway movement, which I suppose from some people's points of view would be good because it discourages auto use, has the supposed benefit of not having everything paved over for roads, but I think that that's a mixed blessing, because in San Francisco, when you're coming up the peninsula heading north, and a lot of people do come up the coast to go farther north in San Francisco. There are no freeways that bypass the city. Everybody coming up the coast has to drive through San Francisco if they're actually on the coast. So we actually have more traffic, I think, in the city than if we had freeways. We used to have a freeway called the Embarcadero, which every day for commute people, and I used to ride a motorcycle and commute, and it was really great because this freeway was right alongside the bay, and you had this gorgeous view of the East Bay, and this wonderful view of all the downtown high-rises, and it was a 2 or 3 minute ride. It was a very short freeway, but if there was no traffic, it was just the most fantastic little 2 or 3 minute drive, and even if there was traffic, you still had this gorgeous view, and that was enjoyed by tens of thousands of people every day who rode that freeway. And they tore it down, and I suppose that's a good thing for some people, because now any buildings that are where the freeway used to be will now have this gorgeous view. But what you've done is you've given a special group of people, the office workers or the people who can afford apartments that might be in these high-rises and stuff, you've given them permanent views, but you've taken away the view from the people who would commute, people driving past the city. A lot more people enjoyed the views than are able to now, and so for my way of thinking, that's really a negative thing. So we have a lot of different laws. I mean, they're very strongly anti-smoking here in California, but I heard the other day on the radio that they want to pass a law in California that would make it against the law for someone to smoke in their apartment. And even though I'm socially progressively liberal, I also believe in individual rights. And if you can't participate in something, whether it's unhealthy or not is irrelevant, if you can't participate in what is a legal thing, smoking, in your own home, I think that's where the government's going way too far. So that's another thing that from my perspective, isn't a good thing. They're taxing cigarettes quite expensively, which is sort of a bad thing, because they turn around and are taking this tax money supposedly to support the schools. Totally unrelated type situation, making one group of people pay for something that has nothing to do with them directly. And in fact, they're also encouraging people to stop smoking. The schools become dependent on this money because the governor says the schools don't need as much money because they're getting it from the taxes on tobacco, and yet they're trying to discourage people from smoking. So less people smoke because they quit because it's of the health thing, or they cut down because they can't afford it now. And what happens then is you have less tax revenue going to the schools, which have become dependent on it, and it's sort of self-defeating. I mean, and that's a silly way to build your infrastructure, which schools I think are part of the infrastructure of our civilization. So I'm really sorry that this wasn't a positive thing. I will think about it, and I'm sure I will come up with some things. But most of the things, at least in my life, that I think are good really have very little to do with government, with the laws and stuff. It's more the people. It's the environment. that type of thing, that is what makes life good. It isn't necessarily the laws, although I strongly believe in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights for the United States. I think that is a very good thing. So, sorry it wasn't as positive as it could be, but I sort of wanted to do a response, and I'll try to do better with my next one. Thanks.